Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be exploring a really profound collection of spiritual teachings. It's called Devathan Choral, which means the voice of divinity. And, it tackles some of the biggest questions we can ask in life. So let's just jump right in.
So the source material kicks things off with a question that honestly all of us have probably asked at some point. In a world that's so full of suffering, who can actually solve our deepest problems? Who can fix the world's sorrows?
Now, before we even get to the answer, we kind of have to understand just how big the problem is. The text calls it the dilemma of the era, and it's not just a small thing. It's something that affects everyone, from a single family all the way up to the entire globe. And this is such a great way to think about it, right? You've got a family, and they have a leader who helps solve their problems. A country has its leaders to deal with national crises. But what happens when the whole world is facing a spiritual crisis? Who do you turn to then? The source tells us we need a completely different kind of guide, a world guru.
Okay, so that leads us right to the heart of these teachings. The solution that's offered here isn't some complex system or a new ideology. No, it's something way, way more profound than that.
The central idea is this. For the world's deepest wounds to be healed, divinity itself has to, become human. It has to take on a human form, walk among us, and show us the way directly.
And here he is. This is the very figure at the center of everything we're talking about, Kanchi Mahapriyava, known to his followers as Sri Periyava. He's seen as that very incarnation, shining as a world guru for our times.
So you might be wondering, what was it actually like to be around him? Well, the writings describe this incredible, almost tangible power he had, a grace-bestowing presence that went far beyond just words.
They say people would come to him, completely overwhelmed with their troubles. And somehow, just by being there, those massive hardships started to feel not just manageable, but even blissful. Isn't that something?
And it wasn't just about fixing what was wrong. It was about what came after. People felt this deep sense of happiness, this real inner peace just washing over their minds. And to top it all off, they didn't just leave feeling peaceful. They left feeling strong. They found this new courage, this resilience, to go back and face whatever life threw at them. That was the kind of impact he had on people's hearts.
But look, his influence wasn't just on an emotional level. It was intellectual too. And this brings us to one of my favorite descriptions of him, the walking university, a guide for the head as well as the heart.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? They are not just a walking God, but also a walking university. It suggests he wasn't just the divine figure, but this living, breathing library of wisdom, open to anyone who wanted to learn.
So what exactly was he teaching at this walking university? We're talking a deep, profound knowledge of some of the most complex scriptures out there. The Vedas, the foundational texts, the great epics, these huge stories of heroes and duty, the Puranas with their incredible mythological tales, and the Shastras, which cover everything from art to science. His knowledge was just immense.
Okay, so if he had all this knowledge, how do the rest of us get access to it? Well, that's where this comes in. His teachings were compiled into a collection, a real treasure trove of books called Devathan Choral.
And the way the source describes this book is just brilliant. It's like giving the extracted juice. Think about it. Instead of making you go through all these ancient, super difficult texts yourself, Sri Periyava did all the hard work. He squeezed out the pure essence, the most important parts, and presented it in a way that literally anyone could understand.
So what's actually in this juice? Well, it's everything. The book dives into the greatness of Hindu philosophy, the real value of our culture, how to understand the different forms of God. It breaks down the core lessons from the ancient Vedas, and then it gives you these practical principles for living your life alongside the deepest philosophical truths. It's really an A to Z guide for a meaningful life. So, what happens when you actually study this stuff? The impact is supposed to be totally life-changing. Get this. They say a common person can become a scholar, and someone who's already a scholar, they can become a great scholar. But then there's the final step, the most incredible one of all, that a human being can actually realize their own divine potential. And that's the question we're left with, isn't it? A pretty huge one. Can a human truly become divine? According to these teachings, the path to finding that out, it lies in understanding this profound wisdom. Thanks so much for joining me for this little dive into the voice of divinity. If this kind of thing interests you, do us a favor. Please hit that like button, share this with someone you think would appreciate it, and definitely subscribe so you don't miss what's next. We'll see you then.